Have you ever felt like you're being pulled in two different directions at once? Well, today we're diving into this fascinating text, The Dual Forces of Existence, which argues that deep down, all of us are caught in a constant tug of war between two massive opposing forces that pretty much shape our entire lives. All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start by looking at these two great forces. Then we'll dive into each one. First, this fear of nothingness, and then the total opposite, the madness of immortality. After that, we'll uncover the single old wound where both of these feelings come from, check out the clever disguises this need wears, and finally, get to the bottom of the one ultimate fear that's really driving the whole show. Okay, so let's start with the big picture. Imagine this fundamental conflict humming away inside of you. It's this deep, powerful tension between two drives that are constantly pulling you in completely opposite directions. And here they are, side by side. On one hand, you've got what the text calls the fear of arriving nowhere. This is like a gravitational pull toward just stopping. It's inaction, passivity, that quiet whisper to just surrender. But on the other hand, you've got the madness of remaining. This almost frantic, desperate push to build a legacy, to make an impact, to make sure your name echoes after you're gone. So let's tackle that first force, the fear of nothingness. You can think of it as the heavy gravity of surrender. It's when the fear of failing gets so big, so overwhelming, that it just kind of paralyzes you. Now, you've probably heard this before, right? Maybe you've even said it yourself. And on the surface, it sounds incredibly brave, almost enlightened. But the text we're looking at suggests that this phrase often hides a reality that's, well, a lot sadder. Is it really bravery, or is it something else entirely? The argument here is that it's actually a form of silent surrender. It's not a noble acceptance of the end. It's a confession of just being psychologically exhausted, of being too tired to keep carrying the sheer weight of life. All right, now let's swing the pendulum to the absolute other side, the madness of immortality. This isn't just about wanting to live a long life. Oh no, this is that powerful, all-consuming drive to live on forever through what you leave behind. So here's what happens. At some point, our minds have to accept that physical immortality, well, that's just a fantasy. So it pivots, it changes the game. The new goal isn't to live forever, but to make sure your name, your memory, your work, that's what becomes mortal. So we have these two polar opposites, right? The quiet surrender on one side and this frantic striving on the other. But here's the twist, and this is where it gets really fascinating. The source argues that both of these huge drives often spring from the exact same place, something it calls the old wound of invisibility. And this wound, it almost always starts way back in childhood. It's that deep, aching feeling of not being truly seen, of not being acknowledged or validated by the people who meant the absolute world to you back then. The text tells this powerful story about an engineer. He'd spent his whole life studying, working, becoming an absolute expert in his field, but to his parents, he was never the engineer. He was just their kid. His whole professional self was just invisible to them. And from that wound, a silent promise is born. I will go so high that no one can fail to see me. Now, this intense, burning need to be seen and remembered, it doesn't always look like raw, naked ambition. Actually, it's pretty sneaky. It often wears these clever disguises, these masks, to achieve its goal of leaving a mark. The text highlights three main masks. First, there's extreme helping. This is where you give so much of yourself that if you were gone, it would leave a huge, painful void. Then there's becoming a legend. You get so good at what you do that you become professionally impossible to replace or ignore. And the last one is the most surprising, complete obedience. You become so agreeable, so easygoing that you're never excluded. You basically erase your own needs in the hope that others, in return, won't erase you. So after going to both poles, finding their common source, and unmasking their disguises, we finally get to the central truth of this whole thing. We get to the one ultimate fear that's hiding underneath it all. Because really, all this striving and all this surrendering, it's all just covering up a few really deep, nagging questions we ask ourselves. And the first one is this: will I remain in anyone's mind after I'm gone? And it goes even deeper. We ask, if I die, will even a single trace of me be left behind? And finally, maybe the toughest one of all, if I never really arrived, if I never made my mark, will my death just be
A quiet fading away into nothing?
And these questions, they lead us right to the core thesis of the text. Because our biggest fear, or ultimate fear, isn't actually death. It's ineffectiveness. I mean, think about it. It's not the biological process of dying that really gets to us. It's these things. It's the fear of being lost in the crowd, the fear of arriving nowhere, the terror of having your absence go completely unnoticed, and of course, the fear of being forgotten. It's all about our impact, or the terrifying lack of one. And this brings us right back to the beginning. That feeling of total surrender and that drive for extreme striving, they look like complete opposites, but they're not. They're just two different roads that lead back to the same fundamental human need. So, what is that need? At the end of the day, it's the need to be seen. It's the need for our lives to have meant something. It is that deep, profound, universal desire for just a little piece of you, your name, your impact, and image to stick around in the world long after you're gone. So, we'll leave you with this to think about. When you look at your own life, at your own drives, which way does your need to be seen pull you? Is it toward the quiet gravity of surrender, or is it toward that frantic, mad dash for immortality?